Hey there, good morning. How's everybody doing today? I'm Connie Fuksa with Foote Title Group. Welcome to Coffee with Connie. Hope you guys are having a great start to your Tuesday. Had to think about that for a second. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me this morning or paying attention or tuning in. If you're tuning in live, please check in and say hey so I know that you're on. And if you're tuning in on the replay, thank you so much for going back and making the time to check in. I realize how important on both sides your time is. So thanks for being on live and thanks for tuning in. So I wanted to get started this morning. Good morning, Sharon. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, Roy, how are you? I really appreciate you guys tuning in this morning and always being so loyal. Thanks a lot. Hey, good morning, Pam. So this morning I wanted to talk about something that happens a lot. So what happens when you buy a new house and you move in and you're getting everything all set up and everything is going great, you're starting to decorate, you're starting to do some things, spring started yesterday, and so you're doing some stuff in your yard, and wow, it's really exciting because, maybe some of the flowers that the original owner put in are starting to bloom, it's starting to look beautiful, and you really want to, once you get the inside decorated, you want to start working on the outside, especially with the weather starting to change. I know we all want to get outside and spread our wings, and the last thing we need is any more of this crazy bad weather. So you want to get out and you're starting to do some work in your yard, and maybe you're making a new flower bed and you want to put it, in an area where you thought was near the property line, but, was on your property, and you were expanding some things and maybe putting some trees in because maybe your yard doesn't have a whole lot of trees and you wanted to get a little bit of shade for the summer, some of those kind of decorations and things you want to do outside. Or maybe you want to make a little patio area with some rocks or some mulch or that kind of thing and put some chairs in. And so you start designing all of this stuff and you start thinking about, wow, this is going to be really cool. You go to Lowe's or Home Depot, whichever your choice is, and you're starting to look at things that they have set out for spring, and it gets really exciting, and you start designing in your head what all that's going to look like, and you start determining how much it's going to cost, and maybe you buy it a little bit at a time because let's face it, you've just bought a new house, and so you want to do this a little bit at a time, and so you're getting all excited about it, getting it all planned in your mind, and you come home one day from work and your neighbors put a fence down the property line, but on the part of the property that you thought was your property. Now what the heck do you do? Hey, Sean, how are you? Thanks for tuning in. Hey, Anita. Hope you guys are back safe and sound and had a great time on your trip. So, holy cow, you come home and somebody has put a fence on your property, your next door neighbor. Well, you really haven't even got to know these people yet, or maybe you have and you really like them. Now what do you do? How do you go about addressing this with them that, wait a minute, you just had somebody put a fence, or maybe they put it themselves, on my property? I'm kind of confused. I'm not sure what I can do about this. So there's several things at play here. And with respect to the ownership of your property, one of the things that has gotten really away from the closing process, which is really something that those of us in the closing side of it and those of us that do ensure ownership really don't like that much. Hey there, Craig. How are you? Hey, Crystal. Good morning, girl. Hey, Pandora. How are you, girl? So one of the things on our closing side, and those of us who protect your home ownership are seeing, and it's just becoming a bigger problem, is the banks are recommending that you don't get a survey when you purchase the property because they don't really require that you have a survey to show where the property lines are and where your home sits on the property. Now, let me clarify real quick. When you go to closing, there's a couple of different types of surveys you can do. The most common that we see and the most affordable is usually between $200 and $500 is called a location survey. And what happens is the surveyor comes out and just really draws a picture of the property that you're purchasing. Where does the house sit? Where does the garage sit? Where is the shed? Where is any existing fences? Where's the driveway come in? All of the things that are above ground that are on your property, not foliage, So not flower beds and not plants and not trees and things like that. But semi-permanent or permanent structures will be drawn on that. And they also use some previous mapping information to determine where the property lines are. Now, they don't guarantee the property lines. So if someone puts a fence up, it may or may not totally help you determine that. But if we're talking about a situation where somebody has significantly put a fence significantly over on your property and you haven't done a survey when you originally purchased that property, number one, you're not going to really know where your property lines are, that you're just going to be going by the previous owner telling you where they are, but you're also not going to be sure that whatever you put up doesn't also go over on the neighbor's property or too close to the property line. So if a neighbor did want to put a fence up, then what happens? Hey there, Chip, how are you? So I always recommend that you have a location survey done. And the reason for that is because at the end of the day, we all want to know where the things are that we're purchasing, where they sit on the property, and we want to be comfortable knowing that it's there. But the other side of it is, I talk about all the time about protecting your home ownership, and I can't protect your home ownership against your neighbor putting a fence up on your property if you didn't do a location survey when you went to closing, because we can only insure whatever those things are that are shown on that survey. So let's say that when you went to closing, you did have a location survey done. And when you did, it showed clearly where the property lines were and clearly what was and wasn't there. And let's say your neighbor decided, we can even talk on a bigger term. Let's say your neighbor decided to put up a garage and part of the garage ended up being constructed on your property. You would know and you would have protection when that kind of thing happened to be able to go back and say, hey, this is starting to be built on my property. The fence, when you came home, oh my gosh, that fence is on my property. When you came home, you'd be able to go over to the neighbor and say, hey, I have this survey and it shows that your fence company actually put the fence on my property in certain areas, and we really need to get them to move that. And it's a little less adversarial when you are talking to the neighbor and you can say, here's what I got at closing, and here's the licensed surveyor that actually did the survey, who we can go to and say, gosh, how come that fence is in the wrong spot? Can you help us out? And then, as I said, in protecting your home ownership, we can protect your ownership to a certain level with that survey being done, if in fact you had a location survey. So at this point, we can help you with the the neighbor in that situation legally to be able to protect you and find out what's going on, who gave them bad information, because they're your neighbors. You're not trying to cause a problem with them, but you want to be able to go to them and say, look, I have this survey, I got this at my closing, and here's the licensed surveyor. And so it seems that maybe the fence company put your fence in the wrong place. So can we go to the fence company and say, here's the survey that we got at closing, and I think maybe it needs to be moved. So it gives you that ability from a professional's perspective to say, I think this is in the wrong place and I need some help. And if that doesn't work, then your insurance that you get at closing would actually protect you and help you defend yourself legally in this kind of scenario. Hey there, Karen, how are you this morning? Loved that picture I saw, but that you posted, but I really think that you needed to smile because you have such a beautiful smile. So, hey guys, so let's talk for a second about the survey. So if you live in a neighborhood, more than likely the survey for a location survey is probably going to be around $200 to maybe $400, maybe not even that much. If you live in an area that is not a subdivided neighborhood, then they're going to run a little more expensive because the surveyor doesn't have a overall neighborhood drawing to start with, and they have to actually do a lot more detailed work. And so to protect you, they would come out and they could potentially put stakes in. Now there's a next level survey that talks about putting stakes in and paying to have markers on the corners. And if you purchase a property in a rural area or a large piece of property that's maybe a farm, you might want to consider one of those types of things because you want to make sure that you have a big piece of property, maybe there's a lot of woods, maybe your neighbor thinks the driveway that needs to be repaired should be moved a little bit, and it turns out that it's maybe on your property. So surveys are very important when you're buying a piece of property because a professional is actually going out and determining where those lines are, where those corners are, and what those pieces are. Hey there, Victoria. How are you this morning? Hey, Lee. Hey, Phil. How are you? So I really recommend you do that because, as I said, going to your neighbor once they put that fence up and saying, hey, I got this survey at closing and this professional did this. So let's talk to him and see why the fence company is confused. And if you want that protection to protect you about things that are constructed on the property and where they're located from your protecting your home ownership perspective, then you need to have that survey done. And I see people all the time say, well, gosh, I don't really need to spend that extra money. The bank doesn't require it. At the end of the day, yeah, the bank doesn't require it, but you need to be able to protect what you're purchasing in that ownership. And the only way to be able to do that is to make sure you get a survey, and that way your insurance that protects that home ownership will be protected as far as where those lines are and what's constructed there. So hopefully I gave you a little piece of information today. If you need some more help with that or any of the topics we talk about, any of our team members are available in both Maryland and Virginia to answer questions on both sides of the river, and would love to help you out. I did want to point out, if you haven't been to our website recently, I've told you a couple of times we're putting new literature up every single month to try to give you more information. And the current piece we have right now is called 73 Ways You Could Lose Your Home. And it really talks about the things that I try to talk about protecting your home ownership and what things can happen after closing where someone can come in and make a claim against your ownership, and what happens, how does that happen. So you might want to go in there and download that. It's on our website under the resources page. There's been lots of emails and social media posts going out about it. It's a free download. You just go in and register, and you can download that information. So hopefully we helped you a little bit today. I thank all of you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you guys have a fantastic Tuesday. Sorry, I keep getting today mixed up for some reason. So have a fantastic Tuesday. Tune in again on Thursday between 8 and 9 for Coffee with Connie. We do it Tuesdays and Thursdays. And if I can help you in any way, reach out to me through messaging or through our website, www.footetitlegroup.com. I'm Connie Fuchsa. Thanks for tuning in to Coffee with Connie. At Foote Title Group, we protect your home ownership. You guys have a great day. Thanks again.